Proposed adjudication agreement for mixed martial artist Conor McGregor. Good morning, sir. Name for the record.
Michael Mersch on behalf of Mr. McGregor.
Good to see you, Mr. Mersch.
Good to see you too, sir.
You can go ahead and have a seat. Mr. Detmer, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As to new business item number 6, the proposed adjudication agreement with Conor McGregor. Mike Detmer, I'm from the Attorney General's office on behalf of Executive Director Bob Bennett. On October 6, 2018, respondent Conor McGregor competed in the contest against Khabib Nurmagomedov during UFC 229 at T-Mobile Arena. Following the contest, and after Khabib Nurmagomedov jumped into the gallery, the respondent jumped onto the octagon fence where he refused to comply with valid orders from commission inspectors to return back to the canvas. While the respondent straddled the fence, Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov also climbed onto the fence in close proximity to Mr. McGregor, at which point they attempted to strike each other. They then proceeded in a physical confrontation until they were ultimately removed from the fence and separated by commission personnel and/or security. On November 13, 2018, Director Bennett filed a disciplinary complaint against the respondent as his actions constitute foul and unsportsmanlike conduct. Submitted for the Commission's consideration today is a proposed settlement agreement for the resolution of that complaint. Under the terms of the agreement, he would be subject to a 6-month suspension dating back to the contest, so it would expire on April 6, 2019. He'd also pay a fine in the amount of $50,000 and will remain suspended until that fine is paid in full or he enters into a payment agreement with the Executive Director. Once again, these are a generalized statement of the terms. The specifics are provided more fully within the document itself. I, as always, remain available to answer any questions of the Commission, and with that, I will submit.
Great, thank you, Mr. Detmer. Are there any questions for Mr. Detmer from any of the Commissioners? I'm assuming I have a question for you. I'm assuming when you took into account what you're recommending, that this is kind of a question and a statement, because I understand that the public may look at this one a little bit differently. But it's important to note that or it's a question, but I think I know this process well enough to know, your recommendation is based on what happened from at the point the fight ended to the point that Charbez pulled Mr. McGregor back into the cage.
That is correct.
That's the context of the unsportsmanlike conduct.
That is correct, Chairman. That wasn't fair.
Do we have jurisdiction over what happened in New York City?
No.
We do not?
We do not.
Correct. Okay. And we don't really, that I'm aware of, although I don't agree with it, and I certainly don't like it, but the promotion itself and the language that is used, that is continuing to escalate year in and year out, while I don't like it, none of these settlement agreements take into account verbal statements made by parties to one another.
These proposed settlement agreements are specific to the conduct that happened at 229.
And are you aware, or maybe Executive Director Bennett, I'll ask you second, but are you aware of any time this commission has taken an action against an unarmed combatant in either boxing, MMA, or any other unarmed combat sport as it pertains to what they have said versus what they have done?
I am not personally aware, no, Chairman.
Executive Director Bennett.
Chairman, no, I'm not aware of any, but I certainly think it's gotten to the point with some of the unarmed combatants where it's become totally unacceptable. There's not any other athletes that I'm aware of that have spoken in various press conferences in the way Mr. McGregor has. So although we have no precedence for it, I think it's something that we should look to in the future, and we should rein it in. His press conference at the Radio City Music Hall was obviously under the jurisdiction of the New York Athletic Commission. The one that took place here, his language was much cleaner, and I didn't see any reason to add that to the settlement agreement. But I definitely think unequivocally that that's something we need to be take a more active role in and hold fighters accountable for their language.
Okay, so in saying that, I think it's important to note that what you're recommending here is what I just stated. It is from the point the fight was over until what happened on top of the octagon, where he took a swing. And while I think we would all concur that the verbal part of the promotion, in my opinion, has gotten so out of line, it's embarrassing. But it would not be appropriate to insert that at this time, I think, until the commission gave some sort of guidance and/or warning and/or reg altercation that the fighters are now officially on notice, published through, the Nevada Athletic Commission regulation. It would be out of left field, I think, to just come in and insert that in at will, refer to that as maybe being arbitrary and capricious. I agree that we all don't like it. We'll table that for another time, where I think that we should take a look at how we want to address that. But I just think it's important for the public to note, as well as anybody else who's watching, that your recommendation is based on that 30 to 40 seconds, and the other stuff is either not in our jurisdiction or would break a lot of precedent, and without notice that we're going to start fining and/or suspending for what you say versus what you do. So I think it's just important to get that on the record, so it's well understood. So are there any other questions for Mr. Dever?
Just as a clarification, as Anthony Chairman Marnell pointed out, the time frame that you're assessing this for. You just mentioned 30 or 40 seconds. We all looked at a lot of videos. Is that your recollection of the time frame from when McGregor got up, and order was restored? Is it a minute? Is it 30 seconds? I mean,
And so I watched the same
we all have
multiple times from different angles, and as far as the duration of that time frame, I couldn't tell you specifically how long that was, but it's from when he gets up,
right,
goes to the fence, engages in the altercation, and this includes refusing to return to the canvas,
right,
and then comes down from the fence.
So it's less than 2 minutes.
That is a safe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think what I was characterizing is, he was on the ground against the octagon. He's exhausted. He's done. He's been submitted.
Right.
He responds to obviously defend what's happening. He takes the first swing at, I believe it's. Say that again? Okay, Abu Bakr. At that point, they're both brought back down into the cage, and then Abu Bakr comes at him, and other people are coming from behind him, and he's just getting hit from everywhere at that point, trying to defend himself.
Right.
And the different choice that he could have made, which no MMA fighter is going to do, was just to sit there and not go engage. And I understand in this sport they're never going to do that. So that is why he's here today. If he would have not done anything, he wouldn't be here today. Right. Or this hearing wouldn't be taking place for this potential adjudication agreement or disciplinary complaint. So I just want to make that clear, because they are dramatically different, even though the world may see them as one and the same. Per our regulation, they are dramatically different. So are there any other questions?
I think, Chairman, since this has been somewhat changed to a discussion amongst us, I would like to state that while I am clearly looking at that estimated time frame when Mr. McGregor got up to when he was pulled back down after engaging, the only thing stopping Mr. McGregor from putting the public at risk was Inspector Chavez-Foger, because he pulled him back in. And in addition, that is the one limited incident we are discussing today. This is the second time Mr. McGregor is in front of us for conduct. And I think that will be taken into consideration. I will be taking that into consideration as a reminder this is his second time. The first being his incident with the water bottles with Matthias.
Okay. Anything else for the Attorney General? Mr. Mersch.
On behalf of Mr. McGregor, we are in concurrence with Mr. Detmer's recitation of the facts as are contained in the proposed settlement agreement, and don't have anything additional to add with respect to that. And I would applaud the Commission's, caution that they're exercising and not getting too far ahead of into areas where where they haven't perhaps adjudicated in the past. But I welcome and I look forward to participating if the commission is indeed looking forward into getting any new regulations perhaps or other direction on some of those other areas that you addressed, Mr. Chairman. But with respect to the matter that is presently before you today, Mr. McGregor supports and agrees with the Attorney General's recitation of the facts in the proposed order.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, well, I'm gonna close the hearing, and since we were having some comment there, is there anything else that any of the commissioners would like to discuss as it pertains to this?
No, just that I like the idea of taking a look at those further regulations and citing comments that all play into this.
Okay, then I'm gonna move that to, I'm going to move that to item I for matters for future agendas. We'll talk about that. Okay, well then, I would look for a motion then on item number 6.
Move approval as presented.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-1.
I thank the chairman, I thank the commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, just one personal. Just wanted to thank the Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Mr. Detmer. He's very professional and a pleasure to work with on behalf of the Executive Director, and I just thought that should be known for both you all and for his new boss, that he was a pleasure to work with.
Great, thank you.